On one side, you've got people who are super against hustling, the anti-hustle movement. And on the other side, you've got the people who are like, if you're not working 12 hours a day, you are failing. Which one is right? What if I told you neither of these groups are right? And I'm gonna break it down for you today. What's up, guys? Emily here. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, I show you how to have a wildly successful business without sacrificing your freedom or joy. I have a unique perspective on this, and I am telling you neither side is right. What if I told you neither is right? And it's about understanding the season you're in as a business owner and how to create harmony in your business. Let's talk about it. So on one side, we have the people out there who are all about hustling. You're either growing or you're dying. You got to do more, working 12-hour days, not having much harmony or balance in their life. And those people have a point in some cases, which is when you're at the beginning stages of something, like you're just starting a business or you're trying to hit this huge goal, or you have something coming up that you've got to put in the work to get to that end result. You might have to hustle a little bit. I want to bring you to the beginning of my business. I started my business when I was 20 years old and I had just had a baby. I could not afford childcare. I couldn't afford any support. And I had to figure out how to build this business with no money and no support, and also be a mom at the same time. Not the most ideal situation, but it's the situation I was in. And I was grateful to be able to go on a path that pushed me into putting my child in daycare. But in order for that to happen, I had to hustle. I had to work late. There was many days that I worked until midnight. I had to work when he was sleeping. I had to work when he was napping. I did not have balance. And, looking back, there are parts of me that wishes I had a different experience when having my first child, but I don't regret anything. And look what I've created today. 7-figure business, 20 team members and employees, complete time freedom, financial freedom. I get to travel with my kids all year round. We go on so many trips. It was worth it then. But if in that moment, at the beginning of my business, I was like, well, I'm not hustling. Like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not working late. I'm not going to put in the work. It's just going to work out. It never would have worked out. In the beginning of a business, if you don't have money and therefore you can't hire help and you can't get people to run things for you, you might have to hustle a little bit. You might have to grind a little bit. And it's not forever, but it's required. And so not enough people on the side of no hustling talk about this. And there's a lot of guilt, I think, for especially moms who are having to do that and feeling like I can't win. Like on one side, I'm not working hard enough because my business isn't growing enough. And then on the other side, I'm not with my kids enough. There's no balance, there's no harmony. It's okay in the beginning to be in a season where you have to work more, where you have to grind a little bit, where you have to hustle a little bit. Now, who I am today is completely different than who I was before. So we're going to talk about some things I learned about that time. But the first thing is, if you're in a season of hustling, and maybe don't even call it hustling, but you're in a season of like heads down build, that's okay. We all have those seasons. And in the beginning of a business, if you don't do that and you can't afford help, you will not grow. It will be very hard. You're going to have to put in the work because time is the resource in exchange for money. And I recorded a video about how to start a business with no money. You can watch that if you want. And the biggest thing out of that was the time that you can put into it. On the flip side of this story, if we hustle all the time, like if I maintained my habits that I had when I started my business of working until midnight, not really exercising, not having a lot of balance, being on all the time, and really not having that harmony in my life, which we're going to talk about what harmony means in a second. But if I stayed there for the last 7 years, that would not be sustainable. And something is wrong if I'm there for that long. So what I see happen is two things. Sometimes there are businesses who, when they start, entrepreneurs, when they start, they're in that hustle phase. And then they start to get success and they start making money and things start working, but they don't change the way they show up. So they're still working long hours. They still don't have a balance. Their family is like, where are you? They're not able to be present. They're always on. They're always checking email. And then they start to get into that burnout feeling. So recognizing that when you start to get success, when you start making money, you've got something here. You're making money, you're selling your offer, like things are moving in the right direction. You have to shift your mindset and become the CEO of the future. And typically the CEO of your future business, like if you say wherever you are right now and you look at the next level, is it 6 figures? Is it 7 figures? Is it 8 figures? And you look at that next level, how would that CEO operate? And look at the day-to-day things you're doing. Would they be on their phone as much as they are? What would their habits be like? How would their day be structured? Once you start realizing and achieving success, there's usually a shift in how you show up as a CEO, where your energy goes, how you value your time. You get to value your time better once you start making money because you're like, okay, now I can do the more strategic things in my business and get support somewhere else. So then you can enter into a season of streamlining, of getting your freedom back, of creating now a lifestyle that has long-term sustainability. So when you're starting your business, I call it the build phase, like the heads down, gotta grind a little bit, gotta do things that are not ideal, but it's not forever. Probably have to sacrifice a little bit of that harmony and balance for one direction more than the other, but it's a season. And then as soon as you start creating more success and you start making money, you identify that and move into the season of refinement and a little bit more space and creativity and getting support. So the mistake on that side is that people never get out of that build phase because they become addicted to always being on. And their value as a CEO is in doing. When I started my business, I loved working. I still love working, but I started it from a passion of like, I always wanted to be doing something. Go, 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 like productive Emily, disciplined Emily. That's actually a gift of mine, is that level of discipline. But after a while, there came a point where I was like, why am I doing this? I have kids, I now have 3 kids, and I'm making enough money to be more than okay. And what do I want in my life? I want to travel. Like, why did I start my business in the beginning? Time freedom, financial freedom. And so I had to come face to face with that version of me who is addicted to doing and who could not sit in white space. And doing nothing was anxiety inducing for me. The thought of having an hour every day in my calendar where I did nothing, like I couldn't even productively go do like house projects, like I actually did nothing, stare at the wall, sit there and reflect, meditate, not be productive, was so scary to me. And it was only recently that I really started to lean into this and address the addiction to doing and the importance that I felt when I was doing and the panic I felt when I was not doing. And I would gamify this so much. I would be like, well, I'm meditating. Okay, but my intention behind it was to check it off my to-do list so I could be productive, so I could have my routine down. Okay, on the weekend I'm not working, but I make myself a to-do list of 15 things to get done in my garden and make sourdough bread and around my house. So I was constantly being productive. in order for me to get to this next level, which has only happened in the last year, well past being a 7-figure business owner, but I know I cannot get to 8 figures in the identity I had to come face to face with that version of me, the one who was addicted to doing, the one who only saw her value in her productivity, and realizing my productivity doesn't actually define me. And who am I at the root of that? Like, if you took away all the things that I accomplished, like, who am I? So if you're someone who resonates with that, and you tend to be on the side of hustling and working all the time, and you're like, I love it, but then in the back of your mind, you feel guilty, or you feel like this isn't sustainable, this isn't really what I want, stop and reflect what you're getting out of it. Like, ask yourself, how is working all the time and constantly being on, how is that serving me? Because it's serving you in some way, otherwise you wouldn't be doing it. If you're on the other end of the spectrum, where you're maybe not really putting in enough work, you're not putting yourself into the situations of a little bit of discomfort, and you're in the beginning, like, especially if you're in the beginning stages. If you are somebody who is in the beginning stages and you don't have money to invest in support, you're in this camp. And you feel like you lean towards the other side of not holding yourself accountable and not getting done what you commit to. Like, in a week, you're like, I'm gonna do these things for my business. I'm gonna create this content. I'm gonna do this to move things forward, and then you don't do it. You have to look in the mirror and address how that is serving you. What are you getting out of not moving those things forward? And really what you're doing is showing yourself, like, I can't count on myself. I make a commitment and then I don't do it. And same thing, if you look ahead at the CEO of your future business, how would they act? How would they make decisions? How would they spend their day? Is it how you're spending your day right now? Let's go back to this conversation about the anti-hustle movement. I am not for the hustle movement, but I like to find this harmony between the two and recognize the importance of seasons, because there are still seasons in my life where my business needs more of me. We're going through a change, we're launching a new offer, we have issues and growing pains we need to address. My business needs more. I might work more. I might have to sacrifice a few things that week or that month because of that season. Nothing is permanent. On the flip side, there are seasons where my family needs more of me or gets more of me. We're maybe traveling a lot, or my kid is going through something, or there's a week where I need to go to like 2 school events. I get to ebb and flow with the things that are put in my way, in my business and in my life, to create that harmony. And that is what I think about the anti-hustle movement, is it's not one or the other, it's both. It's meeting the need of your business in that moment, in that season, without guilt, and making sure that you are operating as the CEO of your future company. When you look at that future version of yourself, is that how they would handle situations, how they would spend their time, how they would spend their day? And are you facing those shadow sides of you around either lack of accountability or addiction to working and doing? Let's talk about the word harmony. I use this word very intentionally instead of balance, because balance indicates a 50-50 scale. To me, when you say, oh, you need to have work-life balance, you shouldn't hustle, you need to have that work-life balance. You need to have that balance as a mom and as a business owner. And I think especially moms, we get this guilt a lot. Well, balance indicates that I need to spend exactly this amount of time in my business and exactly this amount of time with my kids, and otherwise I'm doing it wrong. Harmony means that sometimes one side might get more than the other. There's a harmony, it ebbs and flows. It shifts and it changes based on what the need is in that week, in that month, in that season. And there isn't guilt for giving one side or the other more. The last thing I'll say on this is, especially if you are a mom, you cannot do it all, but you can have it all. You can have both. You can have the super successful business, the team. You can be a leader. You can run a true company that makes more money than you could ever imagine today. And you can be a devoted, present mom and wife, if that is what you want. You can have both. But to get to that place, you cannot do it all. Maybe temporarily in a season you can try and do it all, but something has to give. And when I was doing it all, what was giving was my health. I wasn't working out. I wasn't in as good a shape. I wasn't eating how I should. And I realized that and really had to make some changes. But as soon as you can, get some support. Get support from trade with someone if you have to, or don't be afraid to hire that support. So often do I see moms who feel so guilty to get the support in their house because they have this preconceived idea that makes them a bad mom. I have a lot of help and it makes me a better mom, because at the end of the day, when I'm done working, I'm not also having to do loads of laundry and clean our entire house and have tried to manage like working while my kids are running around and I'm distracted and I'm not doing either well. Now, did I start out that way? No. I started out working when my kid was sleeping, and there was days that I had to work with my baby right under my desk. That's okay. That was a season. But as soon as I could afford help, which was about when my baby was 18 months, and it was about 18 months into my business, that I could afford a 4-hour-a-day nanny. And I invested in that support. And it made it so that the time with my kid, I was more present, and I was more present to my business. So understanding you can have it all, but you can't do it all, at least not forever. So if you are watching this video and you're like, well, I'm on one side or the other, like I'm either very against hustling or I'm currently in a very unbalanced, non-harmonious place with my relationship with my business and my life, my relationships and my health, I want you to do this exercise. I want you to write out currently my relationship with having harmony between me, myself, my relationships, my health, and my business feels like this. It might feel like I'm burnout at the end of the day. I am never present. I'm distracted. I'm always on. As soon as I wake up, I'm checking things. Like, what does it feel like in your body right now? And then once you get it all out, how do you want it to feel? Like, what would it look like and feel like to have a true harmonious relationship between your life, your relationships, your health, and yourself, and your business and work? What would that look like? What do you want it to feel like? It's not going to be the same as mine. For me, what that looks like is I have dedicated time every day to work uninterrupted and to run my company and do my thing. And during that time, I have support. I have a full-time nanny here. I have help with laundry. I have help with cooking. I have help with cleaning and picking up the house. And then at 4:30, I switch it. And I have a transition time. That's a different story, but I switch it. And not only am I physically present, but I'm mentally present. And that is something that some of you will get. Because there's been times where I've been like, well, I'm there, I'm with my kids, but my mind was not there. It was thinking about those emails and this thing I have to do, and this thing that happened today and content I need to record. I'm mentally present. So for me, that's what harmony looks like. It looks like being present to the area of my life that is getting my attention in that moment, and to create containers where my health gets attention, myself, my meditation practice, my mind, my business, my family, my relationships. And in those containers, I'm fully all in present. That's what it looks like to me. So define the two things for yourself. And then once you have those, ask yourself, what do I need to change? What do I need to implement now? And maybe a goal for the future. Hire a nanny, get support in order to get to that place. You'll be really surprised how it's probably not as challenging as you think to make some changes to get to that place. If you want to dive into some more nitty-gritty of how I actually personally built my business from 0 and a mom at 20 to 7 figures, you can watch my video all about that.